bird there. Look, it's got something big in its beak. Ah, finally we're back. Welcome back, everyone. Power failure at camp seems to be occurring quite frequently these days. What on earth have you got there? Looks like a huge caterpillar. I actually see the metallic sheen on this bird. That I think will be my second ID for the day. If you got the first one. As I opened up. Try forward a little bit, we'll get it again. A fairly good light. Would be better in bright sunlight to see this metallic sheen. We very seldom get to see it actually, and quite unusually there's only one of them. There's normally a family group of these birds. But the one thing about it is the very distinct contrast between the color of the bird and the red feet and legs and beak or bill. Now, some of you who were on drive with us this morning, we saw Mishu eating a daika. Mishu, no, Induna. Sorry, thanks Seb. Where's my brain? It was Induna eating a daika. It was quite a gruesome sighting because it was a female daika and it was pregnant. We watched as he removed the fetus, or the unborn lamb. It was almost close to term actually, probably about a month away. Hello hippopotamus. There were two of you here today, earlier. Where'd the other one go? But there are already a couple of vehicles with those, with Induna. Okay, so you missed the baboons, which means you missed the whole opening. That's okay. Well, I guess we've got to get used to these things nowadays. Okay, so we're actually going to head, I think Texan has left Induna. I think we might go and head over just to see him, just to pop in, just to see how he's progressed and what's happening there. The daika was in a tree this morning. He was on a termite mound. He then climbed the tree, tried to feed on it in the tree, battled, nearly lost the kill, as is the usual sequence of events with Induna and a kill in a tree. Just can't get it right, the poor boy. Then he moved it, and he still couldn't feed on it because it was still not in a great position. He just couldn't get comfortable, so he decided he'd just bring it out of the tree and feed on the ground, which, like his mother, made a little bit of sense because there's no hyena running around. Quite obviously no hyena have been running around all day today, which they're likely to do on a day like this because he's evidently still there with his kill. So let's go and have a look at him. Curious as to whether you got the bird that I've just been watching. starting to think that maybe this whole checklist thing is jinxed. Thanks, Lynn in Canada and Sarah. Lynn in Canada and Sarah. That's Sarah in New York. Sarah Cans. Ferns or cans? Ferns. The red-billed woodaboo, commonly known nowadays as the green woodaboo. Thank you for that. I'm starting to think that maybe what we should do is we should just not worry about this whole ID thing. When we see something, we tick it off, rather than get all the emails sent in, because half the time the stream is bad, or it's lagging so much, or there's a power out, or something. I think it's one of the reasons why I haven't been keeping track, is because I don't really know what it is that you've been seeing and what you haven't been seeing. Don't know. Guess we'll discuss it. Our main objective over the next 4 weeks or so for the month of November is to prove that we are a viable operation. Get our viewer numbers up. I have to be honest with you, the fact that we hit 4,000 likes on Facebook makes no difference to the viability of us as a live drive. It has nothing to do with the revenue. It has nothing to do with the fact that we are able to carry on or not. If all 4,000 people who have liked us on Facebook were watching us every day, that would be an entirely different matter. We wouldn't have to worry. I think we'd be here for the next year. Or even if half of those 4,000 were watching every day. But unfortunately, it's all about numbers who are watching, not numbers who are liking us on Facebook. And I think that was at a bit of a misconception that as long as we hit 4,000 on Facebook we would be fine, but unfortunately Facebook doesn't bring us revenue, and all we really need is to cover our monthly costs. We don't really need to be making ourselves rich or even making money. We just need to be able to cover costs, and costs at the moment are running into a lot more than what the ad revenue is bringing in, so it's a difficult one. Can't really make any assumptions. A lot of people have been asking how we're doing. We don't really know, because the 2 weeks that we've had now in October are not enough to judge by, and we need at least another 2 weeks going into November to get even some idea. And then of course the whole month of November might be a much better indication of how it will work on a monthly basis. But even then, how can we evaluate it after only 1 month? The first 6 week cycle that we had was different because there were so many extenuating circumstances in that we couldn't balance what came in as to what went out. We had to buy tires, we had to buy a lot of spares for the vehicle, so there was naturally a lot of expenditure there that could never have been recovered. So we couldn't get any idea from our first 6 week cycle as Juma Live Drive, and the only time we're going to be able to do it is now, for the next 4 weeks until the end of this cycle. Station with Ingwe. I'm still on my way, it's Long Dams Road, but I'm making my way there. Oh, sorry Seb. Hello Nyala. Oh, look at this lovely bluebeam in flower with the Nyala behind it. That one over there. Dwarf scotias are in full bloom almost now. Possible that she would eat... No, she's missing them. I'm going to say it's possible they might eat the flowers because the flowers are high in nectar. Unfortunately, bush is a little bit... Oh, bye-bye. Something gave him a fright. Bush is a bit thick down there. I'm hoping that early rains like this, and if we get sufficient rain in the following weeks, I'm hoping we're going to be seeing flowers that we haven't seen in the last few years because of the early rains. A lot of bulbs and a lot of the lilies might not necessarily flower every year, and although we've seen some of the grass and the flay lilies, there's one of the lace lilies that I haven't seen yet, and I know that's one of the really delicate ones that needs a lot of rain in the beginning of the season and then a lot of sunshine to eventually bring out its flowers, but those might only come out in a month or two. I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's just really incredible to have a wet October like this. There's just so much more that happens when we have so much rain in October. Anyways, we can get to that shortly. For now though, we are going to find Induna. Hi Fanod. Hello. Thank you, bye. I don't believe it already. Oh well. Station with Ingwe. Thanks, Andrew. I know we've had a lot of leopard lately, especially those of you who have been on both drives. But this is Induna, and this is slightly different, and well, that is what they say, bird in the hand and all that. Seems things have moved a little bit. These are the two marula trees where he was. The second tree is the tree where he had the kill initially, and then he brought it down from there and left it at the base of this marula tree. But he seems to have moved further back now. So let's see how we can... Looks like it's a rather difficult sighting, this with maybe only one visual for one vehicle. I can see him through the grasses here, but it looks like it's a fairly difficult view for now. I think what we'll do is we'll just wait for Andrew maybe. and he's really in long grasses over there, and just from what I could see briefly as I got there, I would have to probably be on the one side of him. We'd have to look past his guests. Not an easy sighting to get a visual, but I can talk to you in the meantime. But some of you weren't with us this morning. Lynn in Canada asking circumstances surrounding the kill and where are we, because she wasn't with us this morning. I'm glad you asked that, Lynn, because I was speculating about the origin or the history of this kill. Andrew found it with Induna sometime this morning. Now, we're between the Chelapan and Weaver's Nest. We are on Little Chelapan Road. Trees just ahead of me through the bush are the trees next to those pans on Chelapan Road. This is the tree where it was. Seb's showing you more or less the marula branches where he had it. And I was speculating whether it was his kill for various reasons. Some of the kill had been eaten, the back had been eaten a little bit, and I was wondering if it had... Oh, is it there?
Yes.
Oh, okay, he's put it back in the tree. I didn't notice it when I was driving past. Interesting. Thanks, Seb. I can move and maybe we can see it and see how much he's eaten on it. So he's clearly put it back in the tree, eaten a little bit more, what looks like up on the shoulder area. Still not a good visual from here. So you can actually see let me explain it to you this way. There we can see the back left leg. There's some of the ribs he's chewed. Let's get it focused. Yeah, there's his her left back leg. He's eaten the right back leg and most of the rump on the right hand side. Further up on the carcass, we can see some of the ribs sticking out. So he's chewed a little bit around the rib cage. And I can see maybe the right front leg, so maybe he's eaten the left shoulder and the left part of the rib cage. I don't know, the head probably hanging over the other side. So where the carcass was a little bit higher than where it is now. I'm very impressed that it's back in a tree and it's actually still there. But this is the way it went this morning. As the carcass was up there, he was on a termite mound 20 yards away, 10 yards away. He eventually climbed up the tree. He tried to feed on it where it was. He couldn't get into a good position, so he brought it down to almost where it is now. Still couldn't quite get a good position to feed on it. And eventually brought it down to the base of the tree where he started feeding on it in earnest. And that's where he pulled the fetus out and fed on that. And I think he actually finished the fetus. We left him. He had sort of bundled at the base of the other marula tree, and he was lying down at the base of this marula tree, and we left him to say goodbye. Now, my mind has changed a little bit now that he's stashed it in the tree again. Clearly, he doesn't like to, or he finds it difficult in this particular circumstance to feed in the tree. But he's got the wherewithal to actually stash it again once he's finished feeding. Now I was speculating whether maybe Karula caught it, put it in the tree and went off to find her youngsters, and he just happened to be around the way he has been around and decided to feed on her carcass. He was, all the while he was on the ground, he was looking over his shoulder towards Philomon's Dip, and that's more or less the area where Karula and her cubs were yesterday. In fact, where this kill is now is not very far from where we saw Karula chasing Steenbuck yesterday. And led me to believe that maybe it was hers and maybe she had left to go and fetch the cubs. I guess I'm wrong on that front, because by now she would have come back and the guys would have seen her tracks on the road. Even if she had come back, seen him and left, would have seen her tracks. Seb says that he saw her in the open area near camp last night, so she might actually be further northwest from here. This was a pregnant Dacre. The likelihood that Induna was lucky because she has slowed down somewhat. He might be getting a lot better at his hunting than we've seen him in the past. Impala are fairly easy for him. Dacre is a difficult one to catch for a young leopard. This is their habitat and they're very alert. But having been very heavily pregnant would have slowed her down somewhat. So as I said, the fact that he's now put it back in a tree makes me think that he probably was the one that killed it, fed on it a little bit, stashed it in the tree, had a break, and then started feeding again this morning. Right now, I wonder if we'll get a view if we go forward. Andrew's moving. Let's go and see him. Good. Forward.
I guess you can go a bit more forward and maybe not the other way. Yes.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, this is how he's going to be. So my suggestion, since we've had some really good leopard the last few days, and we can come back here just before dark, perhaps. Amazing. What do you have to drive over? Black monkey thorn, a rare tree when there's a gap. But let's go and have a look for some other things. We can come back here later. I don't think he's going anywhere, not with that kill in a tree. He's sleeping it off a little bit. He's safe on the ground with, well, for now. No other predators likely to be moving around. So let's go up. I want to go up on Boo Boo Road. Bye-bye, Induna. See you later, boy. Just wanted to touch base with him. just show you that he's around, and we can, as I say, coming back here later, maybe get a little bit luckier with him up the tree. Station's leaving lock, there's one Ingwe open lock.
The other Ingwe's coming to your side there.
Oh, we're not leaving.
Colouring here to the west of you.
Okay, copy, thanks. Aha, we're not going.
You come to the Makurin camping gallery, Machalia and Junction, Dragon's Drive. He's heading south towards the Mamba Road open lock.
Okay, thanks, Info. Here comes another leopard. This might prove my point. This looks like it's the lady herself coming down the road. Okay, we're not going anywhere, folks.
You're there already?
Yeah, she's here by me. Oh, you're a lean looking girl. Look at that empty tummy. Okay, we're going to have to stay with her. Don't know whether she's going to be able to pick up on winds blowing away from this kill, so she's going to pick up the center. Yeah, there we go. Walking step was her kill, because she's going straight there. She's not even using her scent. See how she behaves with her son when she gets there. So we're now walking with her, or rather driving her parallel to her. Funny, I was expecting to see Karula coming back here. Something just told me that this might have been her kill. She's very cautious. So she looks very well. You see, the thing is, she's not skinny. A lot of people misinterpret that for skinny, but it's just her stomach. Her tummy's empty. That's all. She hasn't been eating for a couple of days, and she's going to be eating now. These are the two trees I drove over earlier. As you can see, they just pop up after the vehicle. Soft saplings, especially this time of the year with a lot of moisture in the air. She's very cautious. She's approaching it slowly and making sure that she's not walking into anything dangerous. There she can see him, and he's seen her. He's ahead of us, and he's going back. He's being spiteful. He's going back to the kill. Just go forward so you can see her as well. Yeah, he's up the tree. Just for Dafka, I mean, just to show her that it's his now. You see, I don't believe for 1 minute that Karula just happened to be walking by. I think if anything, Induna was one that just happened to walk by and find it. Although I don't know where her children are. I would have expected them to be with her. Unless she started bringing them back. Got a sense that there was something up. Left them a couple of 100 yards back. Now, despite the fact that she is mother, the fact that he's back up the tree on the kill is going to stop her from approaching too close. He has claimed ownership by his actions, climbing up the tree, and he's glaring at her from the top of there. I can just see him through the branches of a bush willow, glaring at her. He probably won't even feed on it. He'll probably just be there just to claim ownership and to prevent her from feeding. This is where sharing stops. Sharing only really happens when full bellies or in different circumstances. But that was amazing. You know, he'll lie down, put his head down, he won't even look up for a vehicle. Yet somehow he must have looked up and he saw her coming through the bush and he reacted. And it's not easy terrain to see something like a small petite leopard like Karula. No, I guess there's a small possibility that she was reacting to scent. Only thing is that if she's reacted to scent, then by now the hyenas would have. Depends where she came from. But there is a fairly consistent southerly wind. And by now the faint smell of this kill would be reaching any of the hyena that might be within a 100 to 200 meter radius of the den. He's now lying down, I think practically on the carcass. What you gonna do, girl?
Oh, okay, copy that. Thank you. Over it.
See how she appears to be looking through closed eyes.
Yeah, over already. Where exactly that copy well? Python Road, just.
The direction that she has come from is the direction that he kept looking over his shoulder towards when he was feeding this morning. And I got the impression that he was looking over his shoulder because he was expecting her to, or something, to come from this direction. Now that she has come from this direction, I'm thinking that maybe that was why he was looking. Maybe it was her kill. Can't explain why she hasn't got the cubs with her, because that's what she, or maybe she's now looking over her whole shoulder that way, and maybe they are. But normally they would scent kill on her face, and they would be bowling her over and running ahead to try and find it. Circumstances, we can only guess at what's happening. Yawn, yawn. What's that about? Okay, she's no. Toileting. Okay, it's going back towards Chelapan Road. Let's follow her. Log. Not even gonna challenge him, she's not gonna even speak to him, she's just gonna mark her territory. Do the Karula thing, brush against the guarri bush and spray it. But we can just quickly have a look from here towards that marula tree. You can see him trying to feed on it. Karula now heading east on Chelapan Road towards Chelapan. And he's just settling down, so let's see, we'll follow her a little. Yeah, I'm coming, don't look at me like that. Almost looks back at me as if to ask if I'm... Hello Jennifer. If it was her kill, would she have eaten something before she went to fetch the cubs? Well, Jennifer, this is the whole thing, is that there was something eaten off of the kill before we saw Induna go back to the kill to feed on it. I don't know if it was him that had fed on it or whether it was her. It's impossible to say. I was only speculating. I was giving possible scenarios. I just think it's strange the way she's walked straight back towards this kill site and expecting to see, or not expecting to see him there. And that somehow there was just a lot of factors that gave me the idea that maybe it was hers. But Jennifer's saying she doesn't think she's seen her this empty in 3 years. Well, it happens. It's not a cause for concern. It's not like she's dying of starvation. She's still a healthy cat. She's not losing muscle capacity at all. She's just got an empty tummy. And I'm sure she'll remedy that pretty soon. Perfect temperatures for hunting. She's still got something in her stomach because she's still digesting stuff, having now excreted some of it out. Nice of her not to leave it in the road. More spraying territory now. Or is she going after something in the bush? Oh! Darted in there for something. That missed, whatever it was. Maybe a dwarf mongoose. This is the thing with the leopard, is she might look empty, but if she catches a mongoose or a francolin or anything that can keep her going, down to Chelapan. Bit of water here in this mitre drain, but I don't think there's anything in Chelapan yet. No, despite the rain, nothing in Chelapan yet. Wonder if she's going to check. Yeah, looks like she's looking for water. Maybe she'll go to Gary Dam now. Squirrel shouting at her. Going to be a little difficult to follow her through to the drainage line because the elephants have pushed some trees down at the back here. So we can try. Spray. My tree, she says. My tree. I'm coming, Karula. If I can. Try and squeeze through here. I don't know. It'll be a little bit of a with a knob thorn. A little bit of scratch on the gunda. Oh, sorry girl. I didn't know you were coming out here. She's heading in a straight line. Some nyala further north if you're interested. There, she's just seen something.
Boys, we got the net.
Spraying again on the jackalberry. Just one little squirt. Such a strong smell. Maybe she's going to go up to Biffles Dam. Who knows where she's off to. She's actually moving into an area where I don't think I'm going to be able to follow her. Induna Karula still heading east, just crossed Mawati, heading towards Vulture's Nest. Perfect leopard habitat where she's heading now, and it's so dense I don't think we'll be able to follow her much in there, if at all. We can try get a little bit further up, maybe try on the road if she comes out on the road, but I think she's going to be following the drainage line all the way up to Gari Dam maybe. But this very dense vegetation that she's heading into becomes ideal hunting habitat for her. She's able to get very close to her prey. Back into the drainage line. Oh, we're going to have to turn around. Try and follow her down there in the Mawati. There are some nyala just ahead of her. The ones that we were watching actually. There's a duiker up ahead of us. She might have seen it even. And she's making her way through very thick bush to get close to it. So, Yes, she is. No? We're seeing things. Squirrels shouting. The squirrel's seeing her already. Huh? She's there. Oh, there she is. Not even looking at the data. Or there. In that direction. We'll see where she goes from here.
I think if we stay with the Daika, we've got good chances.
We can try.
She's going around now.
When you on Dundam Road?
Daika's disappeared for now. No, still there. Such a beautiful jackalberry tree, this. Oh, some green pigeons up there. Maybe still a fruit or two hanging on the tree for the green pigeon. Just seeing if I can find just a flash of white from that tail. You can hear a francolin further up, starting to complain. Just going to give it a minute or two and see what transpires. She might have seen this Daika from the top of the rise in the back of Chelapan, and that's why she's gone into this thick cover to try and get closer. There you go. Green pigeon. Top right of your screen. That's actually the one that's calling. There.
Alright.
Shouldn't have told you what it is. Uh-oh. Sliding off the slope into a tree. Oh, nearly took my head off. I started going around it and the soft sand just slid me down into it. Need to go higher up. Well, at this stage, I'm going to have to leave it to it, I think. No sign of Dacre, no sign of cat. I think this is a path out onto Vulture's Nest. Take it and see what we can find, maybe. But maybe I'll just leave her be. And go on hunting on her own. Hello Tom, from Alabama. Tom asking if now that the summer season is on us, am I still likely to be barefoot? Now that there's more chance of snakes being out. Actually Tom, this is a time when I really love to be barefoot because the ground is soft. I am a little bit more cautious in the longer grasses, but I still love to be barefoot in this season. It's more comfortable than it is in the dry season. Doesn't look like she's walked along here on Vulture's Nest. Very hard ground, but I don't see any tracks of hers. Station's lost visual of Karula and 613 just near Vulture's Nest on Vulture's Nest. Vulture's Nest on Vulture's Nest. I think we'll have a look at will we come in? Sorry, repeat that please. There's Bamba on the ground. Yeah, but Nyama is that on the ground? Okay, thanks. Okay. Bye-bye, Karula. Good luck hunting. I hope you're going to catch something, girl. Evidently a hyena at the base of the tree now. Okay. We'll come back in a little while. Oh, that's what I wanted to do, was just have a look at the vulture's nest. While I'm here, I can actually have a look with one of the vultures, and I'm sure it's one of the pair. We often see it sitting in a tree further away from the nest because there's no space on the nest for both adults. And on a day like today, let me just move where we're going to see that better. There's a little gap. But on a day like today, even though there's a little bit of a breeze blowing, no thermals, so it's very energy consuming for a vulture to be flying unless there's going to be some reward. Of course, these vultures have no idea that there's a kill just nearby, and it's not going to help them if they did know, because, well, it's in a tree. Okay. Other adult is on the nest. But there's no sign of a little head popping up. I'm going to do a loop up towards Buffelshoek Dam and maybe come back in a bit. You're on the road south. Who knows, she might have even come through here. She's even walking on this road. Who knows? Hello, darling. Darling. Oh, what's that bird? Big stretch. Bye. So, what is that bird? questions@gmail.com. Also, happy to answer questions. Anything you want to know, if I can give you an answer. Otherwise, I've got a box of books. You can find an answer. Short to that, I can engage a network of helpers to look things up. Phone a friend kind of thing. Buffalo, buffalo, buffalo. Herd of buffalo have been here. Must have been that herd that was seen yesterday. had a raptor fly out of a knobthorn ahead of us. Ish, and I think it was one we haven't seen for a while. Hello Mark in New Jersey, only just joined us. You late, dude. You missed everything. Kill back up a tree. Induna on the ground. Karula came back to have a look. Ah, there goes one of those eagles. Maybe, no, it's different to what I saw flying just now. It's gone. I don't know if I got it on my list. There it is. I'm hoping somewhere out there somebody's keeping tabs of what I've been seeing, because I haven't. Mark, it's impossible to know about the events that led up to what we were witnessing this morning. I was speculating that it was maybe Karula's and that he arrived and stole it and that she was going to come back. And well, she did. She came back a little while ago. She almost walked straight towards it. It wasn't as though she was walking around looking for something. She was on a mission, and that led me to believe that it might have been hers. And she was... It's difficult to say because I don't know if you got a good enough look at that eagle. Difficult to say because I would have thought if she was coming back to the kill she would bring the cubs with her. Impossible to... We can only speculate. There are just a number of things that added up to the fact that it might have been her kill and that he stole it and she went off to fetch them and then came back. The only thing that destroys that theory and blows that theory out of the water is that she came back without the cubs. So, guys, ani lo יודע. Ich weiß nicht. How do you say that in French?
Sorry?
How do you say that in French?
What?
I don't know.
Je ne sais pas.
Je ne sais pas. I knew that. Oh look, there's a new weaver's nest. Well, fairly new. Probably just a practice nest. Teresa. Where's Teresa? Where are my binoculars? There. Grasses are just getting a little dry. That nest is already a week or two old. I'm not sure whether it'll be a working nest or whether it's just a young male that's practicing. It looks a little bit untidy to me. So more likely a young male practicing. And when it comes to breeding in a couple of weeks' time, he's going to need to do a much better job than that. Not necessarily always over water, the weaver birds. But, and well, this is over a dry stream bed. Maybe he knows something we don't. Rains will continue. We'll get these rivers flowing quicker than, or sooner than before. Oh, what was that black bird? Anyways, so she saw Induna. As soon as he saw her, he climbed up the tree to claim the kill. She watched that. She didn't approach. She made eye contact. She didn't acknowledge him. She didn't speak to him. She didn't approach him. If anything, she turned away, and I can be a little bit anthropomorphic here, in disgust. Don't know if it was disgust. She turned away. And we followed her for a bit past Chelapan and lost her. I'm glad that I lost her because I didn't really want to follow her much, especially because she's looking rather thin. She needs to be on her own right now. I don't think she needs a vehicle with her if she needs to hunt. While I'm sure that a lot of the time we can be with them and we don't interfere with the hunt, pretty much like yesterday when she was stalking that steenbok. Oh, there's a bird now. There's a bird. We don't get to... Just don't move, Charles. Well, you can move, but stay visual. Can you see it, Seb?
Yeah.
Aha. Oh, just a quick glance. It's moving fast through the trees. Look at that very heavy beak. Black and white upper parts. Quite unusual that it is so buff and below, but that is for this species. They can get as buff as that. Buff meaning reddish. Buff coloured, not buff as in muscular. A little bit of a difficult one. I don't think we've had that on the list, either one of us yet. Has a call that can sometimes sound very similar to the grey-headed bush shrike. Thanks, Ellen, for the grey lurie, or go-away bird. That was earlier. See if anyone can get that one. Okay. Right, so we are delayed. Okay, so we're lagging behind. Probably be at Biffles Dam by the time I get an answer for that one. Thank you, Brandy, for the grey go-away bird. Shall put that on the list. Okay, I didn't quite get that you're breaking up. Not breaking up. Quite get most of that. I'll get it in a minute after this dip. Thanks, Raisa, just mentioning something about Karula and Induna. What was amazing was as soon as he saw her, he climbed up that tree to claim that kill, and he didn't eat on it, he just stood next to it glaring at her. Dark skies coming up from the south. What's really nice about the weather that we've been having is that most of the rain's been falling at night. Unfortunately though, the vegetation benefits more when rain falls during the day, especially if it's already dry by the morning, but enough of it sinks in, I think. I was scratching around in some of the patches of sand around camp, and it's still a little bit dry further down. You know, this first top inch or two is wet. What's interesting is the combination of events that have happened in the last 2 seasons. Well, not necessarily seasons, because I don't mean autumn and spring. I mean last summer, this winter, and now going into this summer. We had a really good rainfall last year. A lot of trees seeded that hadn't seeded the previous year or two, especially things like knobthorns and, well, various others. Most of the acacias and a fair amount of other seeds, but actually not only the acacias, most of the leguminous plants, what are they? Not leguminosae, I think is the family. Their seeds are coated in a very, very hardy, it's not thick, it's just a very, very hardy skin that prevents germination just from being in contact with water. The seed itself normally has to pass through the digestive system of an animal, or it's got to be exposed to fire or extreme heat and cold, or it's got to be scratched for moisture to be able to get into that membrane to soften it, and then eventually to get into the cotyledons inside to get them to swell up. So germination of these seeds is quite critical, or you need specific conditions for these seeds to germinate. You can't just take a knobthorn seed and either put it in sand or cotton wool or some growth medium and expect it to grow. It won't. You'll wait forever. And most of these seeds can lie dormant for years, if not decades, if they don't get the right conditions. And nothing really eats them. And a squirrel won't touch a knobthorn seed until that point that it starts swelling up and the cotyledons start taking in moisture and they turn green and they burst out of that seed and they start growing. And that is when things like squirrels and rodents become the main consumer of things like trees. For every 100 seeds that fall on the ground, you could expect that maybe 5 to 10 might start growing. Well, no, maybe 90 of them will start growing, but only 5 to 10 of them will eventually actually root in the ground. And out of those 5 to 10, you'll be lucky if even 1% of those make it to their first year. The attrition rate, the mortality rate amongst tree seedlings is exceptionally high. For a tree to reach the size of some of these big trees is quite a feat in itself. In fact, their survival, they have a harder, how can I put this? They go through more hardships than any animal facing predators, trees. And it's a miracle that some of them actually do reach maturity. And at the moment, so many seeds are starting to germinate, and so many of them are already just germinating above ground because there's so much moisture, and one sunny day dries them up, or they're germinating in a road, or they're germinating where they're getting eaten by squirrels. It's going to be interesting to see how many new little trees start after this season. Not many started last year. It's not like every year you're going to get new trees growing. It doesn't really work that way. It doesn't really work that every seed that falls begins to grow. And trees have to go through, as I say, as much hardship to reach maturity as the animals, if not more so, because it takes hundreds of years for them to mature. So, Buffelshoek Dam, a few hippos, got some red-breasted swallows skimming the water, Egyptian geese up on the northern side of the dam, just briefly saw them. But it's getting quite dark, and I don't think it's that late yet. I think it's just this weather that's moving in. And an who said that? Yes, it was. Whoa! Hello, Raisa, thank you, and Joanne, Arizona. I think that was Humgo. Did you see that nick in his right ear? Turn this way, boy. Look at that. I think that might be Humgo. There's the feces hitting the fan. Yeah, there's spraying everywhere. Paddle-shaped tail to be able to make sure that it is flung far and wide. Ooh, the goslings might come into view. But yes, this big male did look like he had a bit of a nick out of his right ear. So Raisa, Joanne, African hawk eagle, thank you for that. And Lynn in Canada, and Sarah. Hello Holly in Texas. How cold does it get in Juma? And what did it do? The animals do when it gets cold? Well Holly, we're coming out of our cold season. At the moment it's getting chilly because we've had rain, it's damp, we've had high humidity, and when it gets overcast and grey like this and the wind starts blowing, wind chill factor comes into play. At the moment it's probably, I don't know, below 20. How cold does it get in our winter, which is July, August? July, I'd say late June, July, going into August are our coldest temperatures at night. Gets down to maybe Fahrenheit, 40 degrees. Oh, interesting bird. Looks like a little sandpiper of sorts that just flew off. Yeah. Gaining height and disappearing. Come geese, come into view. We want to see your babies and count them. They will in a minute. They're swimming towards the hippos. Baby hippo. Just popped its head up. That's a zebra wood we're looking at. Behind the zebra wood, through the gap. How big they're getting. They're on steroids or what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of the babies are there. Gosh, look how big they are already. And they were tiny only a few days ago. They're eating superfood. Little wing stubs. Interesting plant growing on that termite mound as well. Just to the left of them. Can't see from here what it is. It looks like it could be one of the wild sages. Yeah. Can't even see the shape of that flower properly. I'm gonna have to go there one of these days. No, it's not a sage. I don't think. Okay, on we go. Sure, it's getting chilly. Head up to Cheetah Cut Line and then we'll make our way back to the middle of our part of the world and see what's happening with Induna and hyena. Okay. Bye bye everybody, see you tomorrow or the next day or the next sometime soon. Don't think I'm going to see many reptiles or amphibians this afternoon. We were just really lucky a few days ago when I was on drive in the evening. It was perfect. It was one of those warm summer evenings after or between rain. It wasn't necessarily after rain. There's one thing that happens after rains and there's not likely to be rain again. There's another thing that happens during rains, between different rainstorms. And especially the frogs know these things. We were seeing a number of frogs out on the road that night. Amongst other things, of course. But this temperature is a little bit too low for these poikilothermic animals to move around. There's a lily. There's a lily already. That's one of the ones that I was talking about. We haven't. I don't think we've seen this type for a while. Let me go. I'm going to turn it towards the camera for you.
It's so beautiful.
I have to take a photo. Still not one of the lace lilies. Now there's a flower for the lady. But this one, there you go, girls. Just for you. I'm willing to bet it's been a long time since that flower has shown its face in October. And only doing so now because of the sequence of rain and temperatures and sunshine that we've had. It won't come up from one rain. It won't come up from one rain and then a break and then another rain. It can only come up from the kind of rain that we've had now. Now I have seen that at home, because at home it is so much drier than here. It's about maybe not even half the rainfall that we get here in the Sabi Sand. And I can go for a decade without seeing a particular flower. And it's the same bulb, and it'll throw a leaf because the rain that it does get will throw a leaf. But there won't be enough for it to produce a flower. And this time of the year, I just sometimes wish I could just be at home rather, because I know that I'm missing stuff there that is a little bit different to here. But at least I'm here. I mean, let's face it, gosh. To experience this kind of summer. This is a different summer to the last several summers because of this rain that we've had. If it stays, if it keeps going, I think we'll be in for a few treats. Not to mention the insects. Well, I'm impressed. Keith, Cardiff in Wales. Very well done, Keith. Southern boo-boo for that shrike-like bird with the buff breast. Southern boo-boo. You get the tropical boo-boo a little bit further north that doesn't have, has maybe little patches of rust, but it's mostly white underneath. Boo-boo spelled B-O-U, B-O-U, and it is a shrike. It is a shrike family. Thank you, Keith. I guess RC is not with us today. Oh, okay, RC is with us. This wasn't the first one back. Someone beat you to it today, RC. Now, thank you, Penny. Hello, Mary Jane in Florida. One of the reasons some of the animals are going through name changes was mostly only birds, Mary Jane. And I suppose it's got a lot to do with our the fact that South Africa identified a lot of birds, or rather gave a lot of birds South African common names that were not in line with international names. For example, thick-knees. Around the world they're known as thick-knees. Here in South Africa they were called dikkops. And I've even heard an argument on occasion where two people have argued about the same bird, calling it the two different, not necessarily the thick-knee, but just as an example, where one's calling it one name and the other one's calling it another name. And I've been wanting to say, well, just look at the scientific name and you'll see it's the same bird. But it's to come in line with the international names of birds. Some of our larger, what we call plovers, are known as lapwings elsewhere in the world. And I think it was our political climate for a while that perpetuated the common name, the South African common name. And now that we're more on an international stage, I think we need to come in line with what is known internationally. You know, plants go through a very similar thing. There's some zebra. God, animal names are changing, and that is because genetics are now identifying differences in animals where they were put into the same category because of physical appearance. And it doesn't necessarily mean that because two animals have the same physical appearance that they belong to the same family, genus or species, whatever. And it is only through genetics that we're able to really separate things into distinctive categories, either different genus, different species, or different subspecies. And it's important in terms of classification for zoologists and people in the field. It's semantics for the man in the street, whether this is a Burchell zebra or a plain zebra, or it's a subspecies of the Burchell zebra, or, you know, at the end of the day, it's a zebra. What's that up ahead? Maybe another zebra, just over the rise. No, it's not. It's a Koran, or busted. There again, another name. Korhan, South African name, but people from all over the world know what a bustard is. What's that? Blood is dive bombing something. I think Holly was asking earlier about temperatures. She was saying what do the animals do when it gets cold? Well, when they have temperature changes that they can't adjust to very quickly, they'd go into relatively thick bush. A lot of them lie down, huddle up, use body warmth. For some of the social species, they'll lie together. Things like buffalo will lie close together. A lot of animals that have a coat, and we see it quite notably in the impala. They're able to vary their coat in terms of how the fur lies on their coat, pretty much like a cat when its hair stands up straight. What's it called? Piloerection, I think, where their hair stands up a little bit. And what it and what it does is it creates an insulating layer of air and helps keep them warm. Ephraim, come in. Ephraim, come in. Yeah, how far from Buffalo's cut line?
Yeah, not too far. And what you're looking at?
Cheetah cut line.
Yeah, I don't
Okay, thanks. That's sad. Okay, yeah, I'll come that way slowly. What happened with my Dutch? Ooh. Okay, thanks. Dogs are up. I'm on the lady boundary. So, news of a herd of elephant near Buffelshoek Sign on Buffelshoek side. Herding. Well, maybe they'll come close to the Buffelshoek cut line by the time we get there, but Ephraim is saying that they are very skittish and a little bit aggressive. So they've had a bad experience. Let's see if I can talk to them. I came up here thinking that maybe the dogs would make a turn this way, but they went the other way. What is good is that they're being seen on a more regular basis now, even if it's not here on Western Gowrie or on Djuma. And any day now, I think, one of us are going to be lucky to bump into that pack of dogs. Let's take this fire break for a bit. Just a little bit. Hello Brenda in Louisiana. Do we have a map that you can download and follow? Well, there is a map on the Djuma Ning site. Not the Djuma, the Wild Earth Ning site. Can't remember if there's a map on Djuma's website. Maybe Tara can put up a link strap. wildearth.ning wildearth.ning. N for November, I-N-G. November, India, November, Golf. wildearth.ning.com. And you go into the resources tab, there's a map there. There's another crowned plover with a baby. Pair of crowned plovers with 2 babies. Just like the ones up on Filament on Impala Plains. That was probably one of those plovers that was flying around earlier, complaining. These little ones.
Any chance of opening the island?
Ooh, Tom in Alabama. Last bird I pointed out. Could that have been? I think that was the southern boo-boo, Tom. B-O-U, southern boo-boo. If I'm not mistaken, that was the last bird. A little bit bigger than the flycatchers and shrike family. Who's that on the termite mound? Don't know if I have that one left. You're going to stay there for me. Be nice if we can just get it silhouetted rather. Off he goes. I'm on the termite mound to call Swainson's Franklin. Antelope of the genus Corvus, Cobb family. That's what was eaten by the Tsilalas the other night on Umvubu Road. They had a young waterbuck. Little group of females here making their way across the boundary. Branch hanging over the road, looked like a dark animal in the road up ahead. Hello girls. They do pretty well in the cooler temperatures with their long fur. Hoping to see more flowers where the fire was, well, the burn on the fire break. It's really short green grass area on our left. It's a little stretch of road or stretch of burnt area that runs parallel to this main road called Biffles of Cutline, about 30 meters wide. Véronique in France. Bonsoir. Veronique asking, is it so cold that I have to wear a jacket? Actually, Veronique, I've not only got a jacket, I've got a long sleeve t-shirt and a long sleeve shirt. I think cold is a relative term. It's cold for me. I know a person like Pete Brought, because he's somehow doesn't feel it. Pete would be in a t-shirt. I know Will Fox also used to come around in short sleeve shirt and I'd be in 4 layers of clothing. I feel the cold. And yeah, it's a little bit chilly. It's not cold, it's just low temperatures. With all the moisture around, it's like it's been a little bit humid. There is a bit of a wind blowing and that drops the temperature considerably, as you know. Wind chill factor and all. Hey, that's an interesting question. Thank you, Donna. Donna back in Nebraska. If I go to a new area, what signs do I look for to establish or I'm at a loss for words this afternoon. Not able to articulate very well. What signs do we look for to tell whether there's wildlife about? Well, one of the things, of course, I guess I've got to start with my standard response, Donna. It depends. Depends where you are. Now, obviously things like trees being pushed over and stuff tell you there's elephant there. But yes, tracks and dung. Tracks, dung, and animal trails. If you know that there are not many people in that area, and yet you're still seeing distinct pathways, those pathways are from animals. The other thing would be if you knew where there's if there is water somewhere, and you were to go to the water, you would be able to see a lot more signs of animals around water. Sounds at night. Oh, look, the flower. They're beginning. They're starting. See, even on a grey day like this, I'll still find you some colour. The beautiful little yellow spikes of the African wattle. You can look for signs on trees and bushes and shrubs for browsers. You can look for signs that animals have been browsing. That is fairly evident because the tips of branches are broken in a distinctive manner. Dung on the ground. As I was saying, tracks and soft sand. Beautiful. In fact, there's a lovely big wattle just behind the camera at the dam. That's ever zoomy. Digress quickly. Ellen, Arkansas. That flower is one of the lilies. I'm going to have to find out a specific name for you. Can't remember offhand. There's so many of those little lilies, and I'll have to go through my books. Can't remember. Haven't seen it for some time now. But getting back to Nebraska's Donna's question, the reason why I say it depends on the area, Donna, because I mean, in Africa, for me, I'm familiar with the way animals work in Africa. If I was to go, like when I went to North America, for example, and I was wandering around some really remote areas of either the Southern California desert or the Baja desert areas along the coast. I mean, when I mean remote, I mean not a soul for miles and miles and miles. Obviously new terrain, new habitat, new animals to me, but still I would still find signs somewhere that things are not necessarily only animals but birds, droppings, owl pellets, pathways made by animals. Andrew, come in. Yeah, go. That was a cut line, Gary Cut Line Junction. Okay, thanks. Okay, where did Andrew find Indloop? Okay, thanks. Been really battling for elephant lately, and there is a herd up ahead. We'll see if we can still see them. They've turned north, and most of the herd is already left. Even the proximity of Buffalo's a cut line, but evidently there are two bulls that might still be on the road. Getting a little dark, I guess it's getting late. I think more or less, not much more I can say. I think I'd have to think about some more things for Donna on that question about how one establishes what wildlife is about and what animals one can find, or whether there is wildlife in an area that I haven't been to, other than what I've already mentioned. I know that I have, on occasion, when I've been in the air, it's a lot easier when you're in the air. I remember flying over regions of Selous in a small plane to try and find new areas for walking safaris, and basing our decisions on the number of game paths, not necessarily seeing the animals, but because we know that there are no humans there, we were looking in particular areas and trying to gauge which areas had the most or the best used game paths. None of those paths would have been used by humans. So, but that was different because it was from the air. On the ground it's a bit different. Also listening at night, on a quiet night. But that's not always that easy because only really nocturnal animals that make noises. Okay, weather questions. John in Texas. Bill and John. First, John saying what the difference in game viewing between summer and winter, and then Bill also in Texas. You see, my brain can't handle so much at once because I'm already thinking of the answer when Tara's trying to give me the balance of the question. So basically, The temperatures of winter and summer don't have that much effect on game viewing because they're consistent temperatures. What affects the game viewing in the different seasons is the density of the vegetation and the concentration of the animals and where they are, and whether one sees through the bush or whether one has merely this wall of bush. And you're going to see soon, very soon, we're not going to be able to see very far through these trees the way we're seeing now, because all of these trees are going to be in full leaf, and in the height of summer we tend to be driving along almost in some places a wall of green, and it's very difficult to see through it. But the other major point that I want to make is that in the dry season, generally speaking, a lot of the temporary water points, little pans and mud wallows, they all dry up. Some of the smaller dams dry up, and it's only really some of the larger dams that are permanent water. And what happens is the animals tend to congregate, or tend to, well, I guess congregate is a fair word or fair assessment, congregate within a radius of permanent water points. And in the summer months, when there are little puddles everywhere, the game disperses, and you tend to find it's more widely spread. What was Bill's question about temperature and season? Or Bob? Bill or... What was Bob's question or Bill's question? We got Bill's question. Is it cold this time of year? Well, no, ordinarily not. It's cold this evening. It's cool. The temperatures are low this evening because we've had a lot of rain and it's been overcast all day. We haven't had sunlight to warm up the day. For a lot of people, they might find this quite mild temperatures. They might find this not cold at all. I don't know, I'd say it's maybe, I'm guessing, this is such a, I don't even want to look at that thermometer because it's just so way off. We really need to find a decent thermometer. But it's only cool because it's damp and it's overcast and it's a little bit windy. But normally this time of the year it's very hot. October going into November, we should be experiencing temperatures, I suppose for you in Texas, in the Fahrenheit, probably the high 80s, 90s. Our midsummer temperatures get well up into the hundreds, to closer to 105, 110 sometimes. And we've had temperatures in the hundreds already. In fact, the days preceding this bout of rain that we've had was exceptionally warm. It was hot to the point of not being able to move, just dripping sweat. I was hoping to see a big grey thing up there somewhere. Guess I'm not so lucky to find one of those big grey things. They are there, they're just off of the cut line. Those must be the two bulls that, no, I think a couple of youngsters there. I wish I could just turn in here, but I can't. This is the Buffelshoek sign. And just get a glimpse of one of those big grey things. Well, they don't look skittish and aggressive to me. They look quite relaxed. Carol, hello Carol in Michigan. What kind of bad experience would make them upset? A bad experience with a vehicle that doesn't know how to behave with them. And not every vehicle that drives around on this road, this is a main road, into the reserve. And I would say that the majority of traffic on this road are not guides. And if any vehicles, especially civilian vehicles, people don't know how to behave with elephants. And 90% of the civilians that will come into the reserve and they're driving their own cars or delivery trucks or service vehicles, either the telephone company or the electrical company vehicles, they are paranoid and they race their engines or rev their engines, and they're scared of these animals. There's a lovely big girl. No, Kathy, thank you. I did see. Kathy wants to know if anybody's seen that the first foam nest frog. Are you talking about? That's too loud. The first foam. Is that the first foam nest or just the first frog, Kathy? I did see the frog the other day. In fact, it was the evening we had been seeing. Oh, it's the first foam nest. No, I haven't. It's nice to know. It's also early for the foam nest. But I did see when the other night, my last drive, when I was coming by the dam wall, after we had seen a number of frogs on the drive. In fact, when we were coming across the dam wall, there was a tree frog, also the foam nest frog, sitting on a branch out in the open. And I figured that, and I've heard them, I figured that this kind of rain would bring a couple of them out. There aren't enough puddles, and the little pans and water holes haven't filled up enough for us to see them out in the bush. But a water source like Gari Dam is a good place for them to start. It's interesting to note that the first foam nest has been seen. Probably the earliest. Janet, no baby impala yet. I promise you'd know all about it when we do. Well, evidently picture's very dark and we can't lighten it up anymore. Sad as it may be. Well, then we better be on our way, because I'm not putting the light on the elephants. Bye-bye, children. Please come back soon. I'm starting to see baby golden orbs that have left the nest ball and are starting to make their own baby little nests, little webs. Little golden orb spiders that are about the size now. A week or so ago they were the size of a pinhead. Now they're the size of a match head. William, is that William Will? William wants to know if we get trapdoor spiders. We do, William. We do. In fact, I've got a trapdoor in my house. I mean, here, not my house, Timbavadi house. I've got a trapdoor in my room here somewhere. I keep all sorts of little mementos that I find, and that was one that I found. It was actually quite amazing because I saw this little white thing on the ground and I knew exactly what it was the instant I saw it. And of course the white part is the silk underneath of the trapdoor. The top of the trapdoor is very well camouflaged. And I will try my best, William, to find one. But being a trapdoor spider and being so well camouflaged, it's almost impossible to find. Not impossible. Some of the only times I've ever seen trapdoor spiders or been able to find them is because I just happen to be looking in the right place at the right time and I see the spider come, just poking its head out and then ducking back in. But when the door is closed, it's kind of hard to find. But they're not very big. The biggest door I'd say be about the size of a, what's that? A dollar. About the size of a, what is that size? 1 rand coin. No, the old 1 rand coin, not the new one. But then you don't know what the old 1 rand coin size looks like. Size of a Kruger rand. Size of a St. Gordon's $20 gold coin. Double eagle. A little bit smaller than the diameter of a golf ball. But it's not perfectly round, it's flattened on one end, and that's where the hinge of the door is. Wonderful spiders, really incredible. Hello Trish, Idaho. Making our way around the states. I should have a checklist of all the states and mark them off when I get questions from all the different states. Hello Trish, I want to know, have I ever or will I ever write a book about my experiences? Trish, I've written a lot. Writing is one of my only means of expressing myself. I can express myself better in the written word than I can in the spoken word for some reason. I have only published a few articles in magazines. I haven't published a book. I haven't put enough stuff together to put into a book. And as long as I'm working, I can't write a book. I need to be at home, not working, and have enough time to put it all together and do a lot more writing. But to do that, I need to have an income, and so I've either got to work, and I just never seem to be able to get to the point where I'm saving money enough to be able to go and live at home for a few months to write, which I would love to do eventually. Whether it turns into a book or not, I don't know. It'll turn into something. A lot of the stuff that I've written over the years is in a box because it's written, it's on paper. I have a Lamy fountain pen. It's the only pen I write with when I'm writing because it's the fastest pen I can write with. Writing is a lot faster than typing. I've tried doing writing with a computer with a computer, but my fingers aren't fast enough to keep up with my brain, and by the time my fingers catch up with my brain, I've forgotten what I was thinking about. But a pen, on the other hand, a pen can keep up with my brain. Especially a fountain, I don't know, for some reason, fountain pen. Lamy fountain pen. I think it's German. Of course, never tried a Mont Blanc or any other superior writing instrument. Lamy is about the best I'll go for. Works just fine for me. And a bottle of black ink. But I think so, maybe one day, I think I'll do something. I think we'll go to Zoe's Road. We'll go past the den. I think we've had a few people asking about Teddy. and then we'll make our way to Induna and see what he's up to, and see if a good chance that hyenas have found their way there by now. You know, the wind is blowing from that kill straight towards the den, so I'm sure they must have picked up that scent by now. But this was Aubrey's Road we've been on. We're now back on Weirtela Access Road, heading east towards the lodge, and then we'll go south on Zoe's Road. There have been so many books, game rangers writing their tales. I don't want to write in just another game ranger storybook. I don't know what to, I suppose I just don't know how to put it all together and tell a story about it. I'm not too good at fiction. I don't have the greatest imagination. I can only write what I know, and what I know is fact, and what I know is nature. And I think if I had to put a lot of what I've already written, the short snippets of little bits of really amazing things I've witnessed, whether it's a page about a spider playing with a droplet of rain in its web, or whether it's the story of a snake and a lizard fight, or an encounter with a pair of lechwe fighting on an island in the Okavango. I don't think it's really great reading material for most. I think some people would find it boring. Most people. Some people would find it interesting. Most people wouldn't be interested in. Don't know. One day, we'll see. If it was a little bit warmer than this, we might see some nocturnal reptiles. Even some creatures that might live under the soil that might be on the surface, but it's too cold tonight. We need a really hot, humid night to see some special and wonderful children.
So check to see contact.
Cold weather and a bit of the wind that's blowing, there aren't even that many insects out tonight compared to the last few nights when we've had certain beetles practically swarming. In fact, so much so that I couldn't even read because they were coming into my room in such great numbers and just overwhelming me. Tonight looks a little different. A few moths flying around, could be a few beetles. There's one of them beetles. But not many. I see some eyes from some of these children. Hello, babies. Here's little Teddy, looking brown.
Fabric.
He's gone behind the bush. One of the older cubs. Be interesting to see who's at the bottom of the tree, which of them, probably a couple of the mothers. There's the naughty child. Hello, kids. Coming to say hello. Hello, Teddy. I don't have shoes on, so you're not sniffing my feet today. You might just take a toe off. Actually, okay, sniff my feet if you must. No. It's supposed to be curiosity killed the cat, not the hyena. There's one missing. Actually, there are 3 missing. See the human foot, not to touch. There's a big sign on it, says do not sniff. You precious little child.
I'll just keep it out of focus.
Sorry, Teddy. I'm really reluctant to let its nose. I mean, if I got my boots on, it's a different story because they got steel caps and a hyena can bite as hard as it wants. But me and my bare foot, I'd rather they didn't, because who knows, if they just wanted to take a little, to open their mouth, it could just, not a good idea, children, not a good idea. I think Teddy bumped his head now, because I just moved my toe.
Oh, didn't like that, huh?
No, I growled at it.
Sure.
But it's important to let them know that they can come, they can investigate to a certain point, but there has to be a boundary, there has to be a limit to how much they can investigate. Teddy at the mouth of the den. I hope I haven't. No. Fine. So all 4 of the older ones are here. I think there's still 2 slightly older cubs that are probably wandering around with the adults nowadays. I think Teddy got more of a fright because it bumped its head, or because when it ran off there was just a little, well, I suppose you heard it. Which ones are you on? The 3?
Yeah.
4. So they've come to investigate. They probably come to see, well, it's them again, getting used to the smells of this car as opposed to the others. I'd actually like to talk to the guides and see if they come that close to the other vehicles. Waiting patiently for moms to come back, but I think moms are up. Scrounging, hunting, looking, feeding. Maybe come back with a leg bone or 2, or a head, or a carcass. Amazing how that little hyena has grown. Starting to grow into its spots now. Okay, I'm going to leave them be and make our way down back towards Induna if we can make it. Bye kids. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. They're now bored with us. Came to sniff and smell, and novelty is worn off already. Stations and PC car active with my pimp on only. Calling Mark. Yeah, I just left there now. 5 month pimper. The radio has suddenly become very muffled. There's something. That's from over the Daker. Manfred, hello Manfred. Nice to hear from you. Good Abend. Where are the lions and the cheetah? Oh Manfred, the lions. The last we've had lion close by. There were the Tsalalas. A couple of days ago, they killed a waterbuck just opposite the lodge on Mvubu Road, and they went on to Arathusa down to the southwest, virtually a straight line from us now. This morning there were lion tracks on Buffalo's a cut line, but no, even male tracks. So I'm guessing that maybe Matimbas, but nobody followed up on them, and nobody knows where those lions went. I think maybe Manyaleti, not sure. Maybe tomorrow, but yes, no lion on Djuma at the moment. We haven't had cheetah here for a little while. There have been cheetahs seen outside of our traversing area, but we haven't had any cheetah coming through here recently. Been a while for those too. The dogs have been fairly close, the wild dog, but not close enough. I think Tara was the last one to get the dogs up on Triple M a little while ago. ground beetle. Another one. Go out. Out in the boat. Out in the boat, eh? Impala. Good night, Impala. Sorry to disturb Impala. Philemon's catline. I want a snake in the road. Ground beetles. Lots of ground beetles. It's number 6 and 10 meters. The reason why there's so many ground beetles in that little patch of ground is because of the species of ant that lives there. The roving ants. There's a huge colony of them, and these beetles eat them voraciously. Termite mound. Not likely to be anyone on it, just in case. Sorry, I didn't quite get that. The worst biting insect that we have. Hello Pat in Toronto. The worst biting insect. Oh, only 10 minutes. Gosh, don't know, we're going to make it. Maybe. Just have a quick look at Induna and then say goodbye. Only 10 minutes. Pat wants to know, Pat's in Toronto. Pat wants to know the worst biting insect that we have here is toss up between two. One of them is the mosquito, obviously, and the second one is known as a cleg or clegs. Similar, very similar to a tsetse fly, almost identical looking, same group of insects. Well, they're a fly essentially, and they bite because they suck blood. I mean, there are other biting insects that will bite if you try and handle them, or if you... No, not if you try... I'm giving the wrong impression here. I will show you that I will happily handle them without them biting me, but if I had to grab them, they would bite me. There's a difference in the way that you handle creatures, whether they bite you or not. All it takes is a little bit of gentleness. But I think, Pat, if you're asking about insects that will bite you for absolutely no reason other than to suck your blood, type of horsefly and the mosquito perhaps are the two. You might come into contact with ticks, but they're not an insect, they're an arachnid spider family, the ticks. 8-legged arthropods. Other than that, there's not really that much that's going to bite you for no reason, because then none of the other insects really feed on humans or human blood. And there's no real reason why you should get bitten by them. Well, people get so paranoid about insects, but essentially insects actually don't want anything to do with us humans. We don't feature in their lives. Many small creatures, because they're small and vulnerable, have some means of defense. Some of them, it might be a bite. And as far as the arthropods are concerned, the insects, I'm racking my brain to think of an insect that has a bite, that has venom. Apart from some of the assassin bugs that would sting really, really sore. Quite sore. Once again, assassin bug's not going to jump on you and bite you. Doesn't do that. There's some assassin bugs in some part of the world. Get some in Africa, but I have never been bitten by one. But particularly down in South America, that are responsible for Chagas disease, which is, I think, basically a trypanosome. It's a parasite that lives within the assassin bug, and it gets transferred when the assassin bug bites the human to suck its blood. Also, blood-sucking insect, but more common in South America than in Africa. A number of insects obviously have stings. They're ants, bees, wasps, a lot of the beetles. Beetles have an incredible array of defense mechanisms. Some of them squirt acid, some of them have a bombardier beetle has this little gas bomb. There's a beetle that squirts an exceptionally toxic, very, very hot, almost boiling liquid at its potential aggressors. Doesn't occur here though. I've only seen film of it. And I suppose you can pretty much go by, and it's not a foolproof or fail-proof rule, but you can go by the premise that during the day there are things that, during the day if you find things on the ground, they're generally harmless, and things that fly, some of the things that fly around potentially can harm you, like bees and wasps. And it tends to be the opposite. And a lot of people freak out about insects that come around the lights, and that moths and beetles and things that fly around at night. But strangely enough, there's hardly anything that flies around at night that's going to sting you or bite you. It's the things that crawl around on the ground that become the dangerous ones. And that's why in the summer months, come nightfall, I do put shoes on. Well, sandal type things. Very seldom actual shoes. If it's raining, I'll put my boots on. If I'm walking around a lot at night, I'll put my boots on. But generally, because they're things like scorpions and centipedes, and they are nocturnal venomous snake, it's wise to walk around with shoes at night in the summer months. But I know that during the day, there's no chance of stepping on a scorpion. Or a centipede for that matter. They're both nocturnal creatures. Or even nocturnal spiders that can bite. The larger hunting spiders that can be a little bit painful. But there are not that many dangerous insects and little creatures here, though. They're all really quite wonderful and having very intricate lives and are very interesting. If you just take a moment to discover what their lives are all about. So let's have a quick look at Robert in Cincinnati. I don't recall seeing a postcard from Cincinnati, I'm afraid. Still on the way, I guess. I should have brought them this evening. Maybe Clara can bring them out tomorrow. We've got a bunch of postcards from Alabama, from Dolphin in French. Dolphin. How do you pronounce Dolphin? Dolphin?
Dolphin.
Yeah. Dauphin Island. in Alabama from Gunda Granny. Bunch of postcards that I meant to bring this evening, but I forgot. I see an eye. Gosh, look, there's a buffalo under the tree now. Hyenas have mutated and become buffalo. And Induna's sleeping. Buffalo is sleeping. What a cozy little family. Buffalo, Induna. Hello boys, sorry to disturb. Okay, I guess the buffalo have seen the hyena off. Oh, look at that. Oh boy, fast asleep. Perfect. Leopard branch, safe, out of the reaches of buffalo. I'm sure they're here because he's here. I'm sure they've seen off the hyena too. Hyena maybe got a little impatient and have gone foraging elsewhere. Let's see the tip of his tail. Can't really see that he's lost a little bit of it. You can see there's still a bit of white there, but he's lost about 3 or 4 inches. We think to a hyena, nobody witnessed it. He was still quite young, he was only about a year old. Those 3 dots on his forehead, we can see so distinctly, those 3 big dots just above his left eye. His baby brother's also got dots like that. And for the first time I'm hearing the beep, the inverter beeping. That's a good point. Hello Carol in Michigan. I think that all the territorial marking that Karula was doing was a message to Induna. It could very well have been, apart from the fact that she would naturally mark her territory when she's moving around. But yeah, I think so. I think it's just a reminder to him to say, look, this is still, I might be your mother and you might have a kill here, but this is still my territory. And you are, I think the fact that she didn't, well, we don't know. We don't know whether they had contact this morning and whether they were talking to each other this morning before we came here. If indeed she did have this kill and he arrived on the scene, would be, I wish I could, somehow I wish we could find out about that. But of course, since nobody was here, they're the only 2 that know about these things. But it was interesting in that she wanted no contact with him, and instead of even coming closer, she just turned around and started marking her territory and walking away. So it's a good point. Could well be just to leave the scent here to just remind him that I'm your mother, this is my territory. Not necessarily go away, but just that this is Karula's home ground. I think I'm going to say goodbye to you. It looks good enough, maybe a little bright. There we go. Well, with Induna behind me and buffalo off in the bushes, they've moved off a little bit, but I have no doubt that they're going to probably stick around for the night. My name is Mark, Seb's been on camera, Tara in final control. It's been a super afternoon. Lovely seeing some of the flowers. Thanks for the questions and the other bits of input that you've given me, and I'll see you. Well, I'll be on camera tomorrow. Tara will be here, and Seb in final control. Am I right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So join us again tomorrow, 6 o'clock. No, 5:30. 5:30 Central African time, just before daybreak. Hopefully we'll see a sunrise. So from all of us here at Djuma Game Reserve, thank you and good night. Let's see Induna quickly. The chief. The chief thief. The chief kill thief.
Good evening, everybody. This is Tara in Final Control. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It has been a wonderful morning and afternoon today, and I'm hoping that the rain is going to pour tonight, so we are out tomorrow morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 5:30 Central Africa time. I'll be heading round, see if we can maybe catch up with Induna for those of you who may have missed him. But also, for those of you who may have missed Mark answering about the baby impala, still none as yet, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for any new arrivals, so we'll also do that tomorrow as well. But for myself and the rest of the crew, I'm going to be saying good night or good morning to wherever you are in the world. Hope you have a great day or evening, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.